a WordPress drag and drop form builder based out of Pittsburgh down the hall here. If you go to my site, joshpress.net/Gutenberg, I have a bunch of just lists, like it's a list of lists that we've collected of just stuff about Gutenberg. Gutenberg is the new editor in WordPress 5.0. Has anybody heard of this yet? Anybody played with it yet? Who's updated their site to WordPress 5? Okay, so I'm behind. Okay, how'd it go?
It looks the same right now. So.
Great. Anybody else? Anybody have anything unexpected happen?
A couple plugins didn't work.
Okay.
A couple of my code doesn't work.
Yeah. So we'll talk about that. I was saying, I'm hoping something goes wrong during this. So a couple things we're going to do here. You'll notice that this is like my site that I write on a few times a year, not like my company's website, that we're going to be upgrading tonight to WordPress 5. Also, I hit a backup in my hosting control panel on my way over here today. If you're doing this with your site, I would recommend for any WordPress major update or a major plugin that's important on your site, like do it on staging, take a backup first. But I just got back from WordPress WordCamp US 2018, which is the big event of the year. So I'm all excited about all this WordPress 5.0 stuff, and B, I thought like, hell, let's just do it. I didn't want to put together a slideshow where I'd show it to you. I want to upgrade the site, look at what's changed, what this does to existing content. Let's get into that for a second. And then I want to write a post, like together, where I'll just put up some photos from like WordCamp US from Nashville, because Nashville is really nice. No Pittsburgh, but, and after that, depending on how much time we have, we can just take questions. We could put in some other blocks. I'm going to do my best to break Gutenberg at some point tonight, because there's really neat error handling in there, and part of running a website is sometimes it breaks. So we all need to know what skills to deal with it, right? Software always breaks. So I'm going to go in here. I do want to point out a couple things before we upgrade. So this is WordPress 4.9. whatever. You can see at the bottom it's asking me to go to WordPress 5. And we'll get to there in a second. But for existing content, I do have the Gutenberg plugin installed. Hello, come on in. Do we have enough seats? Do we want to set up more? Okay. Because there are more chairs in the back if we need it. This is great. It's so awesome that people come in this number tonight. So you'll notice that I've already written a lot of posts here in Gutenberg to begin with, because I had the plugin installed, which allowed you to use the new interface. But as you go down here to the older posts, you see that these ones don't have that little Gutenberg thing next to them, because they're just older posts that we'll call classic mode now. So I'm going to update my theme first, because I did see on the way over that 2017 had an update for Gutenberg compatibility. Like, any theme will work with Gutenberg, but whether or not they've added additional styles to make sure that the editor looks the same, looks more like the front end, whether or not they've added support for like galleries and the different image layouts, you'll find that some themes are better with Gutenberg. There's not really a Gutenberg uncompatible theme. There's themes with cool Gutenberg stuff in them. Including all the, you can see all of these default themes here have updates available. Those are to add those kind of, CSS and things like that to make sure the blocks look good.
What if you created your own custom theme? Should you have any concerns with compatibility with Gutenberg?
So, in terms of will it break? No. I would worry about some of the new blocks. Add some, the multi-column blocks, the image blocks, the full width image block, for example. There's a lot of CSS concerns that you might want to check into. In the Gutenberg Handbook, wordpress.org/Gutenberg/handbook, which is the developer-facing documentation, there are guides to that. And then Rich Tabor has a lot of resources on his site about Gutenberg and theming. That's where I go for the stuff. And Zach Gordon's Gutenberg.courses has a themes course on it. But for the most part, it should be fine. I've seen some things where, the image is supposed to be centered, but they're all to the left, that kind of stuff. So I would definitely like do that check before you go forward, right? Like I'm using 2017. But there's a Gutenberg starter theme on GitHub in the WordPress GitHub that's kind of the reference for this. And also WP Rig's another good theme that's built with this in mind.
I've built several custom themes using underscores, so I was just wondering if
Yeah.
concerned with that.
I haven't used underscores in forever, but underscores is an automatic project, so I would assume that they've done updates. Now I know that like pulling updates to underscores after you get started, but I would, if I were you, I would look at what updates they've done and see what those CSS changes are and then see if those matter to you. Because for a theme, it's really a question of does the CSS look right with the new Gutenberg stuff? And for the most part, it should be fine. But that's what I would check for. But I wouldn't worry too hard about like, is it going to break the site versus is it going to look right? And because which I'm going to get to shortly, is that we're talking about editing content, period. If your content pre-existed Gutenberg, it's not going to do anything to your pre-existing content. So let me actually come back to that because I think that's a really good point, but let me kind of show that in context because that's a little bit of a hard thing to say.
Okay.
So it's easier to kind of show. In fact, let's open up an older post here because I'm about to update. Let's go down here. And let's open up this post, right? So this post was not created in Gutenberg. It's a couple years, it's from 2017. So I'm going to leave this window open so that way we can come back to it and look at it after we do the update. So let's do the update now. No thanks, I already did a backup. Again, I would back this up first. Everybody have a nice weekend? How'd this go? Oh, it's done. Say hello to the new editor. There's a little demo here. Actually the simplest way to play with this, if you want to on your own, this is the new 2019 theme, by the way. I think it looks nice, these screenshots. But WordPress.org/Gutenberg has like a live editor where you can play with this. Like they loaded in the front end. So this is the, oh, by the way, at the bottom here, this is Install Classic Editor. This is a plugin that disables the new editor. May or may not be useful to you. So we're there. I'm sorry, I do this every time I update WordPress. See, my name. I think that's cool. It's often next to Yost's name, but there's two. This is the most people who've ever contributed to a WordPress release. I want to point this out. This is about twice as many names as are normally on a WordPress release credits. So I'm now at WordPress 5 on my site. Right, when we come down here, we're at version 5. Everything looks kind of the same. So this was the post that I said predated Gutenberg. Right, this is from 2017. I wrote this in WordPress 4. Whatever at the time, probably 4.7. It's the same thing. Let's see. This was, this had a Git. This is like a Git, like an embed from GitHub of text. Code. That's still there, and it was a pretty simple post with just featured image and a few headings. But what's important to note here is that this is an editing tool. Like Gutenberg is how you edit content. So in the front end, it looks to see if there are any blocks, right? It's the block-based editor. Well, no, it's an old post. It doesn't have any blocks. And then it stops doing anything. Like on a code level, it basically says, are there blocks? If there are no blocks, stop doing stuff. So it's kind of like shortcodes, right? If you have shortcodes in your posts, your WordPress looks for those shortcodes, turns them into whatever they're supposed to turn into. So we'll get into blocks, but a post like this, let's just go to the edit post screen. Now, this is Gutenberg. All of my content went into the classic block. So if you install the classic editor plugin, you get the old editor. But the old editor is kind of encapsulated into this block here for your existing content. And you'll notice that looks very similar to the existing TinyMCE because it is. Like the old WordPress post editor kind of lives on right here. When you have the classic editor plugin, you get exactly what you were looking for. And you might find for a lot of custom post types will end up in the existing post editor for now. But when you update a post, when you go to edit a post that was not created in Gutenberg, I can convert this to blocks if I want to. But by default, I could just go in here and do all the normal WordPressy stuff that I'm used to. So there's no need to update all of your content to Gutenberg. There's a plugin called Gutenberg Ramp that's built by the WordPress VIP team. That's like the enterprise WordPress from Automatic that helps you do this conversion slowly. But I don't see any reason why I need to convert this post that is totally fine to Gutenberg other than I'm here, so let's do it. Convert to blocks. Now we get into this everything is a block. This is like when you go to the design principles of Gutenberg in the developer documentation, the first thing that you see is everything is a block. So this is a paragraph block here. This is a paragraph block here. This is a heading block. And right, paragraph. Look at this, it's a shortcode block. That's how, right, that code sample that you saw in the middle of that post, I had a shortcode that did that embed in the past. And so obviously all of our, I've got tons of posts that are filled with tons of shortcodes. They just go into the shortcode block. So you'll see over time, plugins will come out with their own block to replace the shortcode. Yeah, it's something we've done. We had the Cloudera Forms shortcode. Now we have the Cloudera Forms block. But for something like this, where the shortcode pre-exists and works, fine by me. So one of the things that's cool about blocks is that we get, well, what you see is what you get type experience. So right away, we get the, these little controls in here that give us those sorts of things. We can convert blocks to not any type of block, but a similar type of block. So if I wanted to change this into pre-formatted text or back, I can do that sort of thing. One of the things that I think is really cool about the new editor is this overview. It'll highlight if you have bad heading structure. If if I change this one to a H4 and I go here, it'll like incorrect heading level. Right? That's an SEO problem. That's a design problem. But because of the nature of how this is built, it's now a lot easier to do this kind of real-time checking. Like Yoast SEO now does every time you edit a block, it runs certain checks to make sure it's in the right, all those checks that they would do after the post on readability and whether or not it's matching your keywords. They're able to do that live now. So that's pretty cool. So we have kind of a new, I love this icon. We have a new preview, which I'm pretty sure it's something stupid on my site that this hardly ever works. No, it works. Wow, that was great, because in the old version, Gutenberg did it. But again, this is exactly the same as it was before. I converted it to blocks, and it worked. This was kind of an easy case. Let's keep going. Let's make a new post. Does this answer your question about what to do about changes before I move on? I would go on your staging site and do this to all the ones that have whatever custom elements you have and see what the problems are, if any, in terms of CSS.
Can you do newspaper columns as well?
Yeah, so let's do a new post. Let's get into some of these features. So Gutenberg, again, is block-based editing. So there's a set of core blocks here when I click this add block. And I'm not sure that I have anything custom here besides the Cloudera Forms block, but we can add some more. But one of the things I want to note is that you don't actually have to click that plus sign every time you get. That would be terrible. Please don't walk away thinking that you have to click plus every time. If I start talking I went to WordCamp US, and I hit enter. Now I'm in another paragraph block, right? So this is a block, this is a block. I created a new paragraph by hitting enter on my keyboard. So a lot of work's been done into that. And then another thing is that you can't really tell, but I'm hitting my slash key here, and it brings up this searchable list. So if you want to do a heading, it comes up first, but as soon as I type H, you're right, it gets me to just these, to who, to custom HTML, and I can heading, right? And now I'm in a heading. So if we wanted to sort of get into this, let's add, say, a gallery block, right? And I brought some photos from WordCamp US. This is me being very cold. I went south and was unhappy to learn it was still 40 degrees out. This is me in front of like guitars in Nashville, so let's throw that in here. And then let's upload another image so we can start playing around with it. Downloads, WordCamp US. See what do we got here. Frist Art Museum, that was really nice. No Carnegie, but nice building. So you can see it's starting to do some interesting stuff. I have a Magify on here, so it takes a minute when I upload because it optimizes everything for me. But we can start to play with over here. You'll notice that as I switch blocks, on the right side it brings up, you know, the settings for the blocks itself. So when we come back here, I can start to play with like the number of columns. Hold on, let me add a third one here. What was this? There's a lot of selfies of me being cold, really, in this folder. I now realize. Here, Bridgestone Arena. Again, no PPG place, but so now it's like automatically giving me 3 columns. But what if I wanted 2 columns? So now it's going to do this kind of thing live here, and right, this is a WordPress core feature now. I don't know if anybody's ever used the existing gallery shortcode. Like, this is a lot cooler. I mean, this isn't like a fancy gallery plugin. This is WordPress now. Right, so I can put these captions here. Another really cool block here is the like cover image block. And so this is just the existing media library. This is nothing new here. That one's still in Pittsburgh. That's our team. Here, look at that. That could be a good cover image. So let's use this. This is the cover image block, which, did that not upload? Yeah, Johnny Cash, please. So there it comes in. And so this is a cover image block. So I wanted to show this. Photos from Music Row. I get to walk around Music Row in Nashville. It was really cool. So a couple things that are cool here is that I can change the text of, I can change the overlay. That kind of changes how it works. I kind of like that. That was a nice accident. I can add an overlay. I can make it a different color. If I make this too dark, eventually it's going to... There are ways where it'll like raise accessibility concerns, which I'm trying to cause problems here. It's one of my favorite things about this is that it starts to really tell us things that we're doing wrong in a really neat way. Like if I change the background color here to black, now it used to tell me I was wrong. Oh, look at this. Here it is. If you can read this on out there, it says this color combination may be hard for people to read. Right? it's red on black, on white, but with this, like I could sort of, it's like red background with black text, but on a screen like this with a little bit lower resolution, it's effectively invisible. And it's telling me down here, hey, you made a mistake. And I'm really excited about this sort of thing because we've never had this opportunity in real time, right? So now it's gone. It's visible again. We never had this ability in real time to show these sorts of things, like, you know, that you could be, you know, how to improve your SEO, how to improve your copywriting, how to improve your accessibility, these sorts of things. So another cool thing is, you see these, this is a plugin added these little, we call them sidebars. This is a plugin called Drop It, which is wordpress.org plugin / drop it. It adds this one here. This is a Giphy search, so search for GIFs, and then they just get inserted right in. But then Unsplash is pretty neat. Like maybe I can find a different Nashville photo that, right, like that looks familiar. Like this looks familiar, but it's like way better than anything I'd ever use. But these are open source, so we'll just go ahead and upload this to the site. Like these are Creative Commons license. And so now this one's, I just imported this to my media library. This plugin brings in, again, this is called Drop It, but it brings in kind of the caption for credit. And then what we have now is the ability to like do the alignment, you know, like we used to, but it's now in context. And if I want to do something like that, I can then add some highlight underneath, like better photos of Nashville. Right. There's also multi-column blocks, which I think are pretty cool. So you can see that I can start typing over here some words, and then let's just drop another image in here. Put like an image block. And I can put that Bridgestone Arena photo in there. So I could start typing a bunch of stuff over here. I walked past the hockey arena. It saves in real time, but you can also still do that. And so let's go ahead and preview this, see how that worked out. Right, I had changed that text there. So this is the kind of thing that it adds the right classes to get the right background color that a Gutenberg friendly theme might have and a non-Gutenberg friendly theme may or may not have. So that's the kind of thing I would look for in with Gutenberg is in your theme is like, if I make the background color white and the text color yellow, does it come out that way in the front end? That's a good thing to check with your theme. This is that that cover photo block, so that's kind of neat. They do that like where the background's fixed as you scroll. And then, so this gallery looks basically like it did in the back end. That's really neat to me, that like WordPress core has this kind of finally what you see is what you get imaging. And like, has anybody ever tried to put like two images side by side of WordPress or like text next to it like this in multi-columns, like in the current editor without a page builder? Like, I feel silly pulling for Elementor just for that, right? Like, I'm a big Elementor fan. We use it on CalderaForms.com for a lot of these reasons that, like, how else will we get multi-column images, embeds right away? And, like, if we go to, like, WordPress TV and find the most recent state of the word, is not up here yet, so it's still 2017, right? And we wanted to say add that in as an embed here. I just pasted it in, and we get a live preview of it, right? So that works with Hulu, YouTube, anything like that. So that's a really cool feature. In this, these all have, you know, move around with the arrows, and then they have a little drag here. Move things up and down. It's a little hard with small screen. I want to try and drag this into here. Yep, there we go. And then, so now it somehow became 3 columns. And I'm going to assume if I close out of here and go back to the editor, block for it. No, go back to the post. Luckily it does, all the same revision stuff that we're used to in WordPress. It's now based on when you're updating, so it's a little bit better. But if I wanted to say realign this to the left, right, I still have all of these in contextual controls out here to work with that we're kind of used to. They're just from WordPress, except for instead of going up to that tiny MCE bar, they're here, and there are different modes about. Like if I'm just writing on my phone, I don't want that thing swishing in on me when I'm just writing text, so I put it into the fixed top bar mode when I'm just writing text. But this is the basics of what we have. I'm kind of upset I haven't broken anything yet. Do we have questions, or I'm going to start installing plugins until I break something?
So one quick question. So the WordPress Classic editor is being maintained by WordPress themselves?
Yes.
Is it the same team of however many names you brought up?
Yeah, well, so when they say it's being maintained by WordPress, it's just like the WordPress core team has agreed to maintain this plugin, and for the most part, that doesn't, like, the people who are building Gutenberg and building WordPress core put together this plugin to make sure that it had different options and things like that, and they've committed to keeping it working if something changes through 2020 something, like for at least 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
And the WordPress Classic Editor is pretty basic in terms of what it does, just adds the Classic Editor. There's a couple plugins like Gutenberg Ramp from WordPress VIP, Gutenberg Manager. There's links to these. If you go to my site, joshpress.net/Gutenberg, and you kind of click through these posts here, I think they're linked from there. But WordPress Gutenberg Block Manager is a good plugin, like turning different blocks on and off per post type. One of the really cool things about Gutenberg is you can lock in different blocks to only be allowed in certain post types. So there's a thing called templates. So this is, there's some plugins that are starting to do this, but you can do it in code and it's documented.
The basic message I'm getting is don't be afraid. You can kind of shift over piecemeal.
Yes, and that's what Gutenberg Ramp is designed for, is to shift over piecemeal. But this is the Gutenberg Handbook. Again, they like, this is kind of, this is new that they have this landing page. So they've broken it up into like designer, developer, user handbook, and contributor handbook, because most of this content has been like aimed at developers and designers. Now they're getting into user stuff, which is great. Though I guess that isn't there yet. But you'll see all the things that you might need to know about styling here that I really recommend looking into. And then, like, if you want to get into building your own blocks, which I did at WordCamp Pittsburgh this year, and my slides are in one of those lists, but I'm not going to get into, like, how to build your own blocks today. Does that answer your question?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Seems like a lot of resources.
Other questions? I'm going to keep going then. Feel free to stop me at any point. So one of the cool things about WordPress, right, is everybody makes plugins for WordPress. So, like, see, now I feel bad, like, if I find a conflict in, like, somebody's cool plugin, I don't want to call them out. But, like, Stackable Blocks is a good one. That was the one I was looking for. So that was Stackable Blocks. Array Themes has a block collection that's pretty good. I just did this Ultimate Blocks. There's a few of them where people kind of make these collections of blocks, but like Easy Digital Downloads, which is e-commerce plugin that we use for our site, like they just came out with their own blocks plugin just for their own products that we want to check out. Couple other plugins worth looking at while we're in this screen. Drop It. This is the one I was demoing before that added those like image installers. I really like that. I wanted to show this as an example of a sidebar plugin. It's not adding blocks, it's adding that sidebar there, but right, I already have that installed. That one's a good one. There is if I can find it. There's like a example text generator. I'll have to find that. I'll put it up on that site when I find on that Gutenberg landing page when I find it. But it's like it inserts demo text, so that's really useful in terms of like putting together a quick page, like as a style guide, as an example. Gutenberg Manager, I think, was the one I was looking for before. Yeah, this one right here. This gives you like different ways, like you can say on this post type, I only want these 3 blocks to be available. So this is what like templates in Gutenberg blocks in post types are going to be like your superpower if you do client work, because you can put together a design and then you could base it on a group of blocks, and then you could prevent your client from ever changing those blocks. You can say like you only get these 6 blocks on this type of page, or you can say you get these 6 blocks in this type of order, you can't remove them. Or you start with these 6 blocks in this order, but you can rearrange and remove them. So that's going to allow you through templates, through color palettes, to enforce consistency on the site in terms of design in a really nice way. So let's see what we have now in terms of installed and non-installed plugins. By the way, if you had the Gutenberg plugin installed, to test this like I did, it deactivates itself when you update to WordPress 5. Future versions of the Gutenberg plugin will have the development version of future phases of Gutenberg. Phase 2 is customizer stuff, widgets, menus, that kind of thing, and then phase 3 was something else. I can't remember. Real-time collaboration. So it'll be used for that. What else do we got here? So let's put up Ultimate Blocks. And let's see what that gives us. Great. I'm glad to see he's doing that kind of post onboarding. So let's just refresh this page so I get those blocks. Here we go. So Ultimate Blocks puts them all in their own category here, but this gives me, and again, this is a third-party plugin, but that's what's cool about WordPress is that, you get these third-party plugins that go a little bit further. So this is tab content. Oh, this is neat. So all right, so it looks like we can do this here. Oh. So like I have this annoying shortcode plugin on our site right now where I have to put like the shortcode that opens the tabs and then one that opens the tab. Then I put the text for that tab, and then I guess in one of the arguments I put the heading. And then I close that tab, and then I open another tab, and then put the tab content, and then close that tab, and then close the tabs. And if I screw that up, everything goes wrong. And none of that looks like anything sensible, right? I'm just kind of typing in between square brackets. Now I'm like typing with a keyboard in something that looks like tabs. I think that's really cool. Save draft. Well, looks like it needs a little bit of CSS work to work with this theme, but I'm getting closer. Let's see what else he's got here. Call to action. Those are always important, right? Sign up for my thing. Give me money, right? This is like the basic concepts of a, like, don't miss out. Give me money. Seriously. Money. You want this, right? But this is a whole different approach to WordPress, right? Like that this is like, I just installed a plugin and, you know, WordPress plugin developers have, myself included, have liked to build our own thing, and all these different page builders all kind of have their own way because there was no standard set of ways to do this before. And now we have, like, does anybody notice how every color picker is now the same? Like, it's just a standard control that WordPress now provides. All of this stuff here. And if you're a developer, that's really cool in terms of, like, you can build less stuff now. You can take advantage of these controls. But I think as users, once more plugin developers use this, it'll be simpler to use WordPress because we won't be learning all the different plugin ways of doing WordPress. We'll just be learning WordPress now. Let's see, that button's kind of annoying me. That's off to the left. Is there alignment for that? No. Too bad. What else do we got here? So what's cool here is that this kind of takes us through our blocks. This is another way to navigate. But I wanted to add another block in between. I get this little plus sign here to do that. Star rating, pretty cool. Star size, number of stars. So that's pretty cool. Let's see what else we can do. I'm going to keep adding stuff until something breaks, because I just really want to see something break. So we can talk about what that looks like. And in a second, I'm just going to go and edit a plugin so that way it breaks. Let's go back to this post. So this is that stackable plugin, right? Before we were looking at Ultimate Blocks. This is a similar one where they have, feature grid, that kind of stuff, right? Like, this is just super useful stuff that, right, if you want to do this kind of thing, like Tranquil Waters. Let's do two of these. Has confused fry. Shrink those down. Let's see what that looks like. So that one came out pretty nice. Look at that. That's actually really cool, because now I have these little links here. I have this. I spent a lot of time building one of these the other day, like, manually. Like, I'm pretty geeked about the fact that, like, I went through a couple plugins on WordPress.org and found that thing, because I need that for my website. And I built a bad version of it the other day. This is much better. It took me, like, 2 minutes to build that little thing. Like, I'm super excited about this. Like, I kind of want to put a button here at the bottom. Standard button. Right, square. See all features. All right, we're selling something. And so, by the way, this is the default color palette. You can add a color palette for the theme. And then you can modify it per each block if you want. But your theme can define the color palette. So when we get to Gutenberg on CloudAirForms.com, like, it was Black Friday, then we were out of town, like, give us a moment. But we'll make sure that our color palette is only on brand colors. So that way people won't be able to, like, this blue here is very nice, but it's not on brand for us, so we won't allow that color to be used in Gutenberg. And that's great for somebody like me who can, like I have a list of hex colors that are acceptable to be used on my brand, and I don't make decisions beyond that. And so I'll just have those as the only ones that are available in Gutenberg on our site. If you do client work or you're building something for your company, getting that color palette and then forcing it on a theme level, if those are the only ones can be used, that's the kind of thing where you prevent your client from messing with your design, right? Like, I think possibly the biggest weakness of WordPress that we're solving here is it's got this text area, and then like any idiot like me can put whatever they want in there. And I have no sense of design, right? These sort of like constraints and allow for this sort of thing to be done really quickly by somebody like me who has no design sense in the world. Geez, how am I going to break this thing? I really thought it would be a little easier after all this drama to break the thing. Let's add another plugin here. New blocks. See what this gives me. Oh, one of the cool things, I'm a big fan of Elementor. They actually have a way to load Elementor modules as Gutenberg blocks, which I think is going to be a great bridge into the future, because we build out all these like cool little modules in Elementor. We'll be able to recycle them into here. Poodle Press, another page builder, made a cool set of blocks, I think. Is that how you spell it? Poodle? I thought they had blocks somewhere. No. Let's see what other blocks we got. Atomic Blocks is another good collection that I would recommend checking out. Like, you definitely want to get a good sense of what are the set of blocks. Like, I definitely would not run a site with like 3, extra block plugins, because there's so much crossover, but play with all of them and see what works. For you, I really would want to see something break. Let's see what that one gave us. Atomic blocks. Oh, we didn't talk about reusable blocks. Reusable blocks are the coolest thing ever. Let's get to that then. So they have like this post grid. This is pretty neat. This is an example of a dynamic block. Of this one in and found the 4 most recent posts on my site. Or 6 most recent. Let's make that 1 most recent. 30 most recent. Give it a second. All right, it's going the whole way down here. That's absurd. So let's go back to like 6 across 3 columns. Yeah, that's the least it's going to give me. This is cool. I can turn off featured image. I can turn off post author because like they're all by me. Post excerpt was useful. Continue reading there. Read more. So what's cool about this is that this is going to give you the 4 most recent, or I think I turned it to 8 most recent posts, but it's going to change every time if I go in right now and publish another post, it's going to show me that as its most recent post. It's not static in the content. And I can change category, so because it's the WordPress Pittsburgh meetup, we'll switch to just posts about Laravel, which I don't write a ton about. I do love Laravel. But yeah, there's my 2 posts about Laravel. I can switch back to like, tutorials about WordPress. Basically all I write about anyway, but yeah. So like this gets back to some older stuff there, but it should all work, just fine, even though I've gone up to Gutenberg. All right, these old posts from 2016 just work fine. What else can I tell you about with Gutenberg? Or do you really want to see me break something?
Does this apply just to posts, or does it apply to posts and pages?
Posts and pages, and then any custom post type can add support for it. So if you have, say, like a product post type or an event post type that's added by a plugin or by your developer, you might add the post type, the Gutenberg support, which is, again, in the Gutenberg documentation. It can be anything, but, it's if you look at the state of the word that Matt Mullenweg gave this week, he said that what we're talking about is this part of the content. It's this box, right? The content, right, is what we're talking about. But this same framework, next, it goes here, right? The widgets editing screen's a little, like, there's nothing related to what you're looking at on there versus what you're going to get on the front end, right? I spend a lot of time, like, in the widget screen and the menu screen doing stuff and then checking in the front end, and the customizer made that better. But there's some concept designs on make.wordpress.org that have a widget editor that's the block builder, just a miniature version of it. A menu for that, right, to be kind of done in Gutenberg and the same alignment controls. So that'll be really neat. Other questions?
You had touched upon the page builders.
Yep.
Have you, what are issues? I updated a lot of my sites, and I actually built one with just it was a small one, but with Gutenberg, just the plugin. But I haven't noticed any issues, and even that you can put, like you said, the blocks using the builder in the blocks if you want to.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't realize, like, some of the plugins that you've discussed gives you a little bit more capability, because that was my biggest frustration, is like, well, how do I, like the columns, it was half and half, or 1, 2, 3, all even, and I couldn't adjust, and without changing code or anything, which I fiddled around with and was figuring out. But I'm just wondering, because that was my biggest fear, was with the page builders.
Right, you probably have a bunch of sites with site builders already. Yeah, me too. Well, I don't do a ton of sites, but, like, we used Elementor for CloudAirports.com. Like, it's a great plugin. And, for example, in Elementor, I can grab in and change the column width with that little drag around. I think right now the multi-column is better in Elementor than in Gutenberg.
Right.
So I would probably stick for where that's a problem for me, where I can really get in there. For now, I'd stick with Elementor. One of the reasons why I like Elementor is that you could turn Elementor modules into Gutenberg blocks. So that's kind of a neat strategy. And I know other page builders are doing this. A neat strategy of getting in between is that if I get into a situation where, for example, Gutenberg blocks are all multi-column block is all even columns right now, I would just use an Elementor template that was 2/3, 1/3.
Everything, the pages look the same.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying on the front end, on the back end, the builders looks, it didn't switch to Gutenberg.
Yeah.
Look, with some of the builders that I've used, because I've used a couple different ones. Some of these sites are old, and I haven't really, I know more now than I did then, so.
Yeah, so a lot of times, like, which page builder are you using?
Oh, I had Visual Composer was one, well, WP.
Yeah, WP Bakery.
Yeah.
Those are nice folks. We hung out with them this weekend. Never met them in the real world. I don't have a ton of experience with them. The thing is like, so Elementor is using like a hidden post type to save its content in, and so they just disable Gutenberg on that page. I wouldn't worry about that. And everybody's known this is coming. All the page builders are obviously trying to figure out what their role is, right? Because this changes for them.
Right.
And we'll see what that is. But right now, it's not going to replace a full page builder. I can see where that's coming from, right? But we're just not. I'm tempted to see what you could do with a couple of these block collections and a good Gutenberg friendly theme and some custom CSS. How far you could push it. But again, it's just the post content, right? One of the reasons why Elementor and Beaver Builder are cool is that they can do menus and footers and headers and archives, right? Like I use Elementor to design all those like cool post archive type stuff. So this is our blog page. This is an Elementor template here, right? That's a feature of Elementor, is that they can apply these kind of cool templates to the, oh, I should take off that top bar. That party's over. But right, they can apply all this sort of stuff to like a post type archive, and like we can have different views for product pages and for documentation pages. You can't do that with Gutenberg yet. So that's where I think like a page builder still really shines.
So you could have the page builder, I just answered my question because I do have one site where I was building the post with Gutenberg, but all the pages are using another page builder.
Yep.
Because as I, anticipating that this is coming, I wanted to start playing with it and figure out what's happening. So I just answered my own question.
Yeah. There's no reason they can't coexist. It's just a question moving forward of, do you want to? I think right now, totally, in a lot of situations.
Well, and
That
I
may or may
wonder
not change
if I
later.
need to slowly, in my spare time, transfer or get rid of some of them. Because some of the sites that are pretty simple could be just fine with Gutenberg.
Yeah. I think a lot of times page builders get used to make a fancy landing page.
Right.
And does that make sense anymore? I don't know. Whereas some of this full page stuff for now, at least at this phase, right? Gutenberg's not done. It was just WordPress 5 shipped with the post editor. And there will be 2-week minor releases and then major releases as milestones are hit. So I suspect we'll see more of the stuff. But for now, that's where I'm still going to be using something like Elementor, is that exactly this sort of thing. Like Gutenberg just does or replace this type of thing. Also, like some of like the footers and headers and stuff on the site, which specifically is phase 2, phase 3. Other questions? I mean, we're at about an hour, which is about as long as I want to stand in front of a room. I rode back from Nashville yesterday. So I'm a little tired. But like WordCamp US was really fun this year. It was like really cool to like see it done and like moving forward, and everybody kind of talking about what do we do next, what's going to be cool, and what's exciting is that the first phase of Gutenberg was the framework Gutenberg and the post editor built with that framework. So phase 2 is use that existing framework to get into the widgets and the menus. So that should move a lot faster. If you're a developer, I would definitely encourage you to start looking at Gutenberg in your head conceptually as a UI framework that you can use to build custom blocks for your clients, to build plugin interfaces, to do other interesting things in a WordPress way. Probably another plugin to check out before we're done is Gutenberg Cloud. What's really special about Gutenberg Cloud is that they're blocks that work in WordPress and Drupal. I hope it's on here. I don't know if they uploaded it to WordPress.org yet. Cloud blocks, there you go. So this company builds a module for Drupal, right? PHP, JavaScript, CMS, open source. And they're building all these tools for cross-framework blocks. So they have a subset of blocks that work on both Drupal and WordPress sites that can be... How do you get to that? Cloud blocks. So what's cool about this is that they just came out, so they only have they don't have a ton of these, but I'm really excited to see this. Is that I can install this block, and then this will show up. Oh, this block gallery. This is really nice. I saw this one before. And let's turn on this one. Let's sort of try and make like a landing page out of this. I mean, 2017 doesn't really have full width. That would be great for this. Let's see what that gave us. Cloud blocks. Right, so I just got these cloud blocks, which came from that cloud site, and I could reuse on, right, like their preset is Gutenberg for Drupal 8. But like this is a sign of good software that can be reused outside of WordPress. So we'll just assume we're selling phones. This is like a multi-column block, which is kind of neat. I really like this. Oh, that's neat. I have not seen since they added that, but let's darken this up so it's readable. And then what other cloud blocks did we just get? Pricing table, so free, real expensive. Actually, that would go on the left, right? Get have pricing authoring, the one we want you to buy. Right, so this one's like 0, right? This one's $29 a month. That's what we actually want you to do, and you're like, that's too much, so we'll just put this one over here at like $5,000 a month. You're like, oh yeah, that's totally reasonable, Josh. $50,000. Little images. See if we can get me on there. That's what you're getting. Me cold in front of some guitars. Right, but we get like these little links to where like I would just drop the add to cart links that Easy Digital Downloads or WooCommerce gives you right here. Like this could be pretty neat. And obviously I'm kind of doing this thing where I switch between plugin groups, but there's no reason I can't go back to either a core block here, right? If I wanted to add a gallery or, you know, one of these ultimate blocks that we saw before. So let's see a feature. All right. Has sand. All right. I mean, this is just kind of neat stuff. Like, I could just nerd out for a while, but I'm going to stop. Let's see what this looks like in the preview. What we just made. That's pretty cool. How it scrolls, and then we get this. If I had, like, the right theme that went full width, I kind of want to switch to the 2019 theme. I'm just like, I don't want to totally break my website tonight. It probably shouldn't happen, but I don't know. I think this is really cool stuff. Everybody else excited about this?
I'm not a WordPress expert, but do we want the phone going over the menu bar there?
No. I mean, it adds character. Right, but this is what I'm saying. Like, this is pretty good, but, like, I have clearly the wrong theme for this. It's pretty impressive that this works this well with this, like, narrow theme, right? If I had a full-width thing, this would look pretty good, and then I'd have to do some CSS to try and get that, right? That sounds like a Z-index issue, right? In terms of CSS. I can figure it out, probably. Oh, I can change the image, though. That's neat. Right? I don't know. It's the same patterns over and over again, which is what I love. Right? That we just keep seeing the same thing. Anything else? Look, I think it's really cool that everybody came out to like nerd out about this thing that I've been kind of obsessed with for about a year here. My name is Josh Pollock. Again, if you go to joshpress.net/Gutenberg, this is my list of lists that I'm curating, if that makes sense. These are all embed blocks, obviously, right? They preview real nice in here. But when you go over here, you can find this, and I have a contact form here, or calderaforms.com/contact, or josh@calderawp.com if you have any questions. Our office is in this building, so like, you ever want to nerd out about WordPress, we're around. Thank you so much for coming out. Renee, do you have anything to add before we go?
Yay, thanks, Josh.
You're welcome.
I did forget to tell you about Code and Supply. So Code and Supply is a co-working space. So this is their community room, and they let us use the room because we're just people, like non-profit, community, open source,
Thanks, Justin.
We love the world. Justin's up there, so thanks, Justin. So I forgot to tell you about that part. But you're welcome to stay, because we can stay a little longer and chat if you